Hey there guys, Lockie here from Zorpazorp Gaming. Thank you for joining me. Got another tabletop wargaming video for you guys today. A vlog actually, something a bit different. Tomorrow morning there is a tournament down at my local games workshop, and on very short notice I've decided to attend and left myself about 4 hours prep time, and I've got a half-finished army. So I'm going to be smashing through that tonight, and then we'll take the camera tomorrow and do a bit of filming, and you guys can come and watch me get my ass kicked by people who actually know how to play the game. Just a bit of a sneak preview. Behind you can see some of the Osgiliath Gameboard. We've been doing some of the battle reports there, and if you guys haven't seen the full board, feel free to go and check that out. I'll leave a link below and throw a link at the end as well. But in the meantime, let's go and get ourselves prepped for this tournament tomorrow. So it's a fast-paced little tournament with a bunch of different rounds and scenarios, and it's a 550-point list. So I'm rocking the Denizens of Mordor today. 3 Mordor trolls here, 2 normal and 1 with a war drum. The Shadow Lord, who's going to be represented by the Witch King rearing model, and then the Mouth of Sauron. And then there's also a Morgul Knight, who I don't have, and I'm going to be borrowing off a lovely gentleman at the tournament tomorrow. So obviously, undercoat, you know, these guys need a fair bit of work, so I'm going to jump straight on into it, and we'll get these guys ready for battle tomorrow. So it's now 12:30, and I think everything's come together pretty nicely. Getting them all based was really important for me. Really brings the whole army together, having them look so unified. The trickiest thing was definitely the black cloaks on the Wraith and Mouth of Sauron models, as I haven't really had much experience painting that kind of black cloak look before, so playing with the grey highlights and all that layering was good fun. Now we'll just leave them overnight for all the basing glues to dry, and they should be ready by morning. Good morning, it is 8 AM, the troll's bases have dried, and it is time to pack my bags and get out of here. Foco to go, the breakfast of champions.
My name's Pat, hey. This is my mighty army of 3. Okay. I'm bringing Radagast on a horse, so converted elk, it's much more aesthetic. Treebeard, and then Bjorn, obviously, as well. My general is Treebeard, and they're going to crush some trolls. Should be good.
So, victory? The forces of
Mordor? It's only up from here. It's only up from here.
What was your play of the day?
Okay, so my play of the day was just, honestly, it was probably Radagast, keeping the trolls in check for Treebeard to barge through, kill the general. Treebeard in general is putting so much work for me. The third guy we don't want to talk about too much. 200 points gone, first round of combat. That really
I think that was my play of the day. Nailing Bayon straight up is pretty lucky.
550-point game, 200 points.
It's pretty lucky.
That takes a big hitting power out of your army.
Cool, awesome, thanks.
So great game, so good, so good.
I'm David Pilkington. I've been playing Lord of the Rings since the first movie came out. I have all of the models. This is my part of my Ent army, and we're calling it Last March of the Ents because we've got 4 Ents. Treebeard and 3 followers.
And I'm kind of running a ghost Angmar horde, so we've got a few ring raids, barrow whites and spectres, so it should be a bit of fun controls. We're playing Reconnoiter, so we've got to get off the enemy's board edge as well as wipe the army.
My name's Justin. I'm bringing Angmar, and we're playing to the death.
Alright, so crushing victory to Angmar.
Yep.
Mordor forces have fallen. Who was your MVP?
I'd probably have to go with Witch King.
Yep. Witch King.
Cave Patrol had its moments.
He was
bit
handy.
slow.
Yeah, he was a bit slow. I think I managed to sap courage him, and that kind of kept him out of the fight for a while.
Yeah, there was probably about 3 rounds of combat where he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, didn't do
just
much.
because of courage. And I mean, when everything in your army causes terror, that's not a good thing.
My MVP would probably be one of my trolls for doing that. Actually, you know, the Mouth of Sauron was quite handy.
Yeah.
He managed to get off a few little helpful things, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely a crushing victory. I managed to get the Witch King though. Some sweet revenge. Thanks so much, dude.
Yeah, you too.
So 6th place overall out of 11 players in my first tournament in quite some time. I think that's a pretty good outcome. It started off well and then kind of fell away a bit from there. in the first game against Pat, I think the kind of big play was nailing Bayon so early, turn 1. Pat kind of charged him up and pinned 2 trolls in place, and then my Shadow Lord got off a transfix and countercharged, pinning him in, and we managed to duke him out from full stats to zilch in that first turn. And I think if Bayon had been around any longer, really, he could have had a serious effect and the game could have gone very differently. To Pat's credit, he did kind of fight back with Treebeard and crunch the Shadow Lord and nearly kill all my trolls, so it was a tight one right up to the end, but we managed to get up, and that was a fun way to start the day. The second game was quite different. Dave's Ents were very, very successful. I think the game was over in about 35 minutes. They do say that Sauron invented the trolls in mockery of the Ents, and that certainly showed true. The Ents were by far superior. In retrospect, I think that charging forth, beating the drums and getting my trolls right up on the objective to try and force Dave to push me off was probably not the greatest move. It allowed him to kind of outposition me and make use of his numbers. I should have probably hanged back a bit and found a choke point and sort of formed a battle line and sort of cast my magic from behind it. I also kind of focused a little bit too much on Treebeard with my spellcasters, and his kind of 6 will just sort of slowly absorbed all of that, and I did chip it away, but I definitely definitely should have focused on killing a few of those Ents before playing for his big general. But not to be, it was still a great game, and you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. The third game against Justin was definitely a lot tighter than the scoreline reflected. You know, it kind of blew out towards the end, but right through the midsection of that match, it was really on a knife edge. And I think there was a few key plays where I got a bit threatened by his Witch King, and he managed to sort of sap Will, my Shadow Lord, and nearly knock him out of the game. He ended up doing that in the final turns. And I got a bit threatened by him and started trying to focus on him with my trolls, and they failed a few terror checks, and they were standing around for a couple of turns doing nothing. And what I should have done is kind of gone after some infantry, executed a few more successful hurls, and really got those numbers down and tried to break him. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson I learned from the tournament overall. And it sort of seems obvious in retrospect, but at the beginning of every match, you need to sit down, look at your opposing force, and identify a key weakness and a key strategy, and then stick to your guns as much as possible. And with Justin's force, all of those numbers, but those hard-hitting units with the Cave Troll and the Witch King, it's kill orcs and break him, and then everyone else just runs away. And unfortunately, I got a bit sidetracked by his big, menacing, full-stat Witch King, and I didn't end up breaking him. And by the time the game ended, he was one model from break. So if I'd killed 5 or 6 orcs in those middle turns, could have been a very different ball game. But it was still, again, a great match, and we had some great opponents today. MVP-wise, I'd actually give it to 2 models. The first of all is my Shadow Lord, my kind of Commander-in-Chief and wonderful General. He executed the amazing play of nailing Bayon in the first match. It's not very often you get to kill Bayon that easily, and that was a great play. And even though I didn't quite use him to his full effect in the other 2 games, I could definitely see how he's a potent element to have in your force. All casters are, but he's a good little model and a great general, particularly at this kind of points level for controlling the flow of battle. And in tied with him would be the most successful of all trolls, Clubby. He not only landed one of the killing blows with Bayon in the first game, he then went on to kill Radagast and then juked it out for about 6 turns against Treebeard before finally crushing in his barky skull and claiming victory. So he took huge props in the first game. In the second game, he got himself crushed by a big barky fist, and he wasn't particularly effective. And then in the third match, he got off a couple of great hurls, crushing some infantry. He unseated Justin's Witch King from his horse, and unfortunately got a bit sidetracked by the Witch King, and probably wasn't effective as he should have been if I had if I was switched on. But he still had a pretty good game nonetheless, and they both performed admirably throughout the tournament. So if this vlog format is something you guys are interested in seeing more of, please feel free to like the video, drop a comment down below and let us know. Don't worry, all our kind of epic terrain builds and battle reports are certainly in the works. They just take a fair while to churn out, so I thought I'd smash this out in between. If you're enjoying the channel and the content so far, feel free to subscribe. And you can check out the Osgiliath Gameboard that we kind of previewed over here. And check out, that'll give you a little teaser of what's coming up in the future. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and it was a pleasure having you. Thanks.